Sahanau bhunaktu Saha viryam karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. May Brahman protect us. May it nourish us. May we work in harmony with great vigor. May our study be illuminating. May we not cherish ill feeling towards each other. Om, peace, peace, peace. Good morning to you all and welcome to today's online Sunday service. The Sunday lecture today is entitled Spiritual Development. We all know that how spirituality is important in our life. It comes from the word spirit, which often means attitude, courage, strength. At the very core of our personality is our spirit. The spirit controls all of us. When it is developed, we are a real human being. When there is no spirituality in us, we tend to be selfish, beastly person. Spirituality makes us human being, and spirituality gives us an opportunity to know the truth, which we call God or Atman or Brahman, whatever name you give, but it is about our quest for truth. Quest for spiritual development is quest for self-realization. With the help of personal God or impersonal God or formless God or just understanding who am I, all those are the parameter of spiritual development. Spiritual quest starts from some dissatisfaction in the world. One is that how we live and how we achieve and what we are going through seems to be not really satisfying for me. I look forward something more. I look forward something great. And what do I achieve in the world? I can see it through my intellect. Just if I want to see the world, what I am going to achieve. Just I grow in the little process of the world, and then slowly the body changes with relations becoming bigger, maybe family become bigger, and then finally death comes and I die. What do I achieve? Nothing. I just go in the process without having any impression of my own, my leadership of my own in my own life. Just it goes through any other life of any other animal or any other ordinary human being. Just grow, study, get job, get married, have children, and grow old and then die. Finish life. Everyone is doing that. Nothing more do I achieve. When a person sees that there may be something more to get in this world, in this human life, scriptures say the human life is precious. It is, one gets human life by the grace of God. It's a great opportunity to produce something great through our life. It's such a rare opportunity, says the Shankaracharya. Durlabham is one of the very rare thing that can happen to a man is human life. Manushyatva with all human qualities. And the two great rare opportunities that we get in life is Mumukshutva and Mahapurusha Samsraya. Desire to self-develop. Desire for spiritual development. That's another great rare opportunity that we human beings have. Not everyone has that opportunity. First, Manushyatvam, human body we get, human mind we get, but maybe it's not really human yet. It has to be refined and made really human, following the Manava Dharma, human Dharma, that speaks about following moral and ethical life and living for the society. Like those things, the human Manava Dharma. And the third thing it says about reality is trying to attain the real knowledge or gain freedom or mukti or spiritualizing our life or going for a spiritual quest. That is the second rare opportunity few of us have got. The third is having a wise man to guide us, to inspire us, to make us feel that what is right and what is wrong, what we should seek. Sometimes guidance by a wise person, holy person, association with the holy, that becomes such a trigger in our life that it just changes the course of our life. And it was going straight, it was without any purpose. Life seemed to be, it's going to be like any other life that is born and dies and in the middle does something. With the association of the wise, holy persons, it says there is a purpose of life greater than just getting progeny and getting wealth and living a comfortable and luxurious life. There is a greater purpose. The joy we can get much more degree than by just living an ordinary life. The life of spirituality gives us more satisfaction, greater joy, and greater feeling of fulfillment that we have got when we realize the truth or the reality or God realizes. You may term it any way, but that is the thing. There comes the spiritual quest or desire for spirituality and its development. The first is, as it is said, Pariksha lokan karma chitan brahmano nirvedamayat. The student, the seeker, first it saw the world, how the world is, how it goes. And it all is dependent on the work and just produces something. And then after seeing the continuity and regularity of the world as it goes, there is no real fulfillment, there is no real abiding, everlasting joy. It is a lot of suffering and few sprinkling of happiness and some pleasures of life. That doesn't satisfy and doesn't make itself worth it trying to attain. To that person, nirveda maya, he realizes that person becomes, he or she becomes wiser and want to find out, is there any other meaning of life? Is there greater meaning of life? Then there comes spiritual quest, a desire for spiritual unfoldment. Why it is called spiritual unfoldment and not called something spiritual gain? It is very Vedantic term, spiritual unfoldment, that all joy of spirituality is within us. Everything is within us. All wisdom, purity, strength, all is within us. But it is folded, it is not seen, it is not manifested. With our effort to spiritualize our life, we just unfold it. We don't get something from outside. Nothing we have to gain from outside. Everything is already given. Already there is within us, but it's hidden. It is folded. Unfold spirituality. That's why it's called spiritual unfoldment. And we get the knowledge and love and truth. We all comes because it's already there. It's just manifesting, just removing the obstacles that hide the spiritual manifestation from us. So we need to remove that obstacles from the path, and spirituality shines with its splendor. Why do we need spiritual experience? Because our heart, very core, wants that we seek something deeper. Life is not something very lighter as what we ate today and how much we slept and what we had in lunch. It's very and what we did and how we fought with my neighbor or how we did something, help to other person. Life in this very light way doesn't really satisfy us. We want to go into the depth of life, what we can achieve, what we are, from where have we come, what is the purpose of this life, how much this life can be transformed. So all these questions of deep life significance arise. Then there is the need of spiritual experience. It is said, what we experience with 5 senses is just every animal experiences. Dharmo hitesham adhiko vishesho dharmena hina pasuvi samana. It is said, the dharma that guides us in our practice of spirituality by making us moral and ethical, that is the speciality of humankind, which animals don't have. If we don't have the spiritual quest, we live our life like an animal, just no other much significance in our life. When we have the spiritual quest, the spiritual unfoldment, the desire for spiritual development, then our life becomes really a human life. That's why the quest. And as it is said, the person of spiritual attainment, we read in the books, sometimes by chance we see some persons also, how their life is so different from us, how much joyful their life is. They are like bubbling with joy, and that joy is so intense in their life that it is not hampered by the daily happenings in the world. We are so fragile in the world. Our life is so much wavering from happiness to misery. One moment it is happy, another moment it is miserable. This depends on what people behave with us, what people say to us. That way we sway in the opinion of the people. Somebody praises, we become so elated, there is no one like me. The next moment another comes and criticizes us, says something that is not to our liking, and then we go down. And sometimes we become angry with that person. Why you are saying that to me? When that person praised for what you are not perhaps, he praised or she praised so much, and you just didn't question that. Why are you saying so much? I'm not that. You never say that thing. But when someone criticizes you, then you want to fight with that person. Why you criticize me so much? I'm not that. Without even asking and trying to see myself, I try to fight with that person. This wavering and swaying with the comment and opinion of the world, that we ordinary people become. But for great spiritual persons, they are firm in their opinion about themselves. They know their weaknesses and their strength, and they do not sway someone's praise or someone's blames. They are always firm, serene, never they are disturbed by the opinion of the world. We find that seeing the spiritual person and reading the lives of great personalities, spiritual leaders like Sri Ramakrishna or Jesus, who have never had anything of hatred towards even those who criticized, who made him suffer, who even crucified. He can forgive everyone. It can go to that strength. The spiritual strength can be that much that you can forgive the people who are killing you. In case of all spiritual greatness, and how much love we see in the spiritual person. So we love every human being as our own brothers and sisters. You love animals as the children of God, with all deep feeling that can happen in a spiritual person. Naturally, we find that there is greater possibility of human life, and that's why we want to develop our spirituality. So, as you just said, there is the inner quest, there is greater joy, there is more firmness in our own life, and we shape our life with the strength of spirituality. So that much is there in spiritual life. Otherwise we just follow the crowd, lead the same life, and with the same fortune that every other human being has. So that seems to be a little too ordinary, too common, and missing the opportunities given to us by the divine, making us human being, giving us a little spiritual inkling, and showing the way that there is a chance of spiritual unfoldment, and you can transform yourself. Spirituality is transforming ourselves. Swami Vivekananda said to one devotee of Sri Ramakrishna, who complained to Swamiji, you see, I met Sri Ramakrishna, he loved me so much, He graced me so much, but where is change in me? I am same. I have not yet realized God. There seems to have no change come in me. When will that happen? Life is passing. Why this? Having such a great opportunity to meet a person like Sri Ramakrishna, it is not that Mahapurusha even, it is Avatara himself, and no change seems to have come in me. Swami Vivekananda said to him, what are you saying? You were such a simple, what are your position before you met Sri Ramakrishna? You don't know. And he says in a jokingly, you were like an animal. Chilen Guru, Vechen Manus, Habin Devata. You were like an animal before you met him and you tried to develop your spirituality. Now you have become like a human being with confidence, purified, thinking for spiritual progress, thinking for the society, how to serve the society, thinking of God, how to love God, and you are now eager to have your spiritual unfoldment. That is the quest of human being. Now you have become real human being, otherwise what you were. And with this quest and the grace of Sri Ramakrishna and your own spiritual practice, Habin Devata, you will become God. You will become spiritually transformed. You will be no more a simple ordinary human being. There will be spiritual transformation in you. It is sure and certain until you hold on to spiritual practice and follow the teachings of the great ones. That Swamiji says. So that happens to everyone. That's why we want to have spiritual transformation. It will make us a different person. It will make us change our life to a different level of humanity. We'll become more accommodative, more compassionate, more kind, more helpful, more enduring, more firm, and we will not sway with the opinions of the world and with little changes in the situation and circumstances. Won't bother us. So that depth in our thinking comes with spiritual development. But most of us are householders, some are monks, even they have their own duties to perform for the society as the monks of the Ramakrishna order, as directed by Swami Vivekananda. Ramakrishna monks are not meant just to go in the cave or in the forest and just to lead their life only in prayer. Prayer, meditation is essential part of the monks of the Ramakrishna order. But another equally important part is trying to serve the people as a spiritual practice. Serve the society in various ways, love human beings, the direct manifestation of divinity. That's what Swami Vivekananda said. So we all have duties towards the world. Householders have towards their own family, children, parents, their spouses, they have duties. And monks have duties as assigned by Swami Vivekananda order, monks of our order. And many other orders are also now have the duties. Even the monk who doesn't have any social duty to serve the human being, they have their own routine life. They have to always read the scripture and meditation and go for begging alms and pray for the good of the world. They may not physically serve the humanity, but they have certain duties for the society. No one can progress in spiritual life without praying for the fellow human beings. Fellow human beings like our own self or Atman appears as another person. So you have to pray and wish good for everyone. So that becomes a duty. So how to harmonize our worldly duties and spiritual life? Spiritual life needs prayer, it needs meditation, it needs swadhyaya or reading scriptures and lives of great saints and their teachings. All those things need time. And it needs to constantly trying to keep us on the right path. And worldly life needs, we have to do a job, earn money, look after our children and our family, look after our friends and colleagues. So all those, they also take time. Now, how to balance this. Spiritual life is actually a life of balance. It is not one-sided. If you give up your duties towards your fellow human being and just try to spend your life only for yourself, always trying to keep away from yourself, that may tend to become selfish life. That is one danger in spiritual life if you are not connected with the society. You may become very self-centered. Only you want your own spiritual progress, how to realize God, how to see and revelation of my chosen ideal. He will come to me before he speak to me, and nothing else for the society. By that way, for the time being, it's fine. But if your life is only self-centered for your own joy, that is not the complete human life. As Swami Vivekananda has a plan for full, complete, ideal human being. Ideal human being has to have spiritual progress, inner illumination, and also his life should be this physical life, this human life should be utilized for the good of the world. When these two are balanced, then only life is complete and whole. So that's why worldly duties and spiritual life have to be balanced. There are the people who balance. Monks of the Ramakrishna order, they have their spiritual life and they have their life of service for the humanity. People who work in the school, they teach students for the whole day, they take classes, do like a teacher, some are headmasters, some are teachers. People in Ramakrishna mission, the monks, they are doctors seeing the patients whole day, but their spiritual life, morning and evening, that remains intact. Prayer, japam, meditation, study of the scriptures. And also for the monks, what happens is that service done towards the people, whether teaching to the students or treating the patients in the hospital or nursing them, or even serving people during our relief, it is not separated from spiritual life. The whole life becomes spiritual. Modes of worship of God become different. Sometimes they worship God in the image of photograph with flowers and candle, and sometimes they worship that very God in the human being by providing food, by giving medicine, by examining the ill person, or by trying to remove the ignorance or giving the education to the students. That way it all becomes spiritual life. Goal is, even the householders of all of us have to do that. Making our whole life is spiritual life. Worldly duties can be converted into spiritual life by making it pointed towards our Ishta, pleasure or joy of our Ishta, to satisfy our Ishta. It is called Krishna Toshanam, Hari Toshanam. For the pleasure of my Ishta, I do this. If we have that inner flow in our life, our life's spiritual development is sure to be quicker and easier. So there is no worldly duties are not separated from spiritual life. They also become a part of spiritual life. All actions become a part of spiritual life, and that makes spiritual development easier and quicker. And if we separate them, doing little morning prayer, spiritual life finished, going to church on Sundays and listening to the sermon of the Padri, or going to the Vedanta society and listening to the lecture, or listening lecture online for 45 minutes to an hour, and then closing our device, and then finish. Nothing of God remaining, nothing of our quest remaining, and then we indulge in food and joy and merriment and all those pleasures of the world. Then this becomes divided and progress is very slow, it's difficult. Rather, that becomes a part, church, attending the church, going to the temples, listening to the lectures. That becomes a part of our spiritual life, which extends to go to the office and work in the bank, go to the hospital and treat the patients, and go to the school and teach the students. All this become like our yoga or yajna. It becomes sacrifice, it becomes offering. Offering to whom? offering to God, my own Ishta, whom I desire to see revealed in front of me, talking to me. I want to touch his or her feet. I want to see that. But what is the process? By teaching them in the school, the job given to me, by looking after my patients in the hospital, by cooking in the kitchen. That all is the means. Everything then becomes worship. Every act that we perform in the world, our worldly duties cease to be worldly duties. They become worship of God. They become service of God. And the thing curious and interesting is that when we have such attitude, when we try to remember God while we are working for the world and performing our duties in life, our job and work becomes better. It is because our concentration is there, our mind becomes focused, and our cooking is better, our treating is better, our teaching is better, our serving the people in the banks become better. Everything, when we spiritualize, it becomes better work. Yoga, karma, sukausalam. All karma becomes sukausala. It is done with the technique. That technique is focusing our mind to one ideal that we call God, where it is all love and it is all about the fellow feeling. That is the way of service. That's how we can balance our worldly duties and spiritual life and make whole worldly duties as spiritual life itself. But easier said than done. It is not easy to remember Ishta always. It is difficult. It is difficult because we tend to forget. We are attached to the things. We are selfish. Our mind have not been purified. Our hearts are yet impure. So we need to practice for that. We need to strive to attain that. There will be distraction. There will be failure. But so much of power is given to us. If we try, it will come to this. We'll be able to see Ishta in our work if we always try to keep in memory and repeat the God's name in mind and go on doing the work. We will be performing really better work and loving work, and that has to be done with effort. That effort is not easy. In Shastras it is said, spiritual practice is like walking on a razor, on the edge of a razor. You literally fall and you may cut and wound yourself. It's so hard, it may be painful, but as we go on walking, our mind becomes purified, it becomes a habit. We gain it, we attain that, we can do that. Though it is difficult in the beginning, slowly it becomes easier with practice. Practice makes it so nice. That's why it is called walking on the razor's edge. Kshurasya dhara nishita duratya durgam pathastat kavayo vadanti. Spiritual life is difficult. Kavis say, the wise person say, it is very difficult, like walking on the razor's edge. But that we have to go through if we want to transform and gain the whole of human possibility. We want to transform our life. We have to pay something for that. Just wishing doesn't happen. I wish I would be a spiritual person and then follow the daily life as I do without any inner struggle. That won't come. Without struggle, nothing happens. Nahi suptasya simhasya pravishanti mukhe mriga. Lion is sleeping in his den and thinks if deer will come to me and I will eat. Deer will not go to lion's lane. So that happens in spiritual life also. I become spiritual, I just wish that I become spiritual, firm and strong and all loving and with the controlling all our basic weaknesses, desire, greed, all control, attachment is not there. I am loving to all, unruffled by the world. Yasman no dvijate loko, lokan no dvijate chaya. One who is not affected by the world. One who doesn't disturb the world. I'll become like that. Doesn't happen. We have to strive for that. In the sleeping lion's mouth, deer don't go themselves. So what to be done? Uddhyamena hi siddhyanti karyani na manoratai. Uddhyama, the effort, the practice. For everyone, lion needs to jump and chase the deer. We spiritual seekers need to perform spirituality without effort and trial. We need to wake up in the morning, do prayer in the morning, pray to God that may I be able to transform my life and my worldly duties in spiritual practice. May I never forget you. May I control myself. May nothing can make me angry. May I conquer greed and evils and the things that might be weaknesses of my life. All these prayers come and inner peace come, confidence come, little practice and all this come. Let me see what Holy Mother has said. A devotee asked Holy Mother, Mother, how does one realize God? Worship, japa, meditation, do these help one? The japa, meditation, worship, that should help one. It is quite nice. Let's see what Holy Mother says. Mother, none of these can help. Very bold answer. Devotee. Then how does one attain to the wisdom of God? Mother, it is only through His grace. But one must practice meditation and japa that removes the impurities of the mind. One must practice spiritual disciplines such as worship and so forth. As one gets the fragrance of a flower by handling it, as one gets the fragrance of sandalwood by rubbing it against a stone, in the same way one gets spiritual awakening by constantly thinking of God. But you can realize Him right now if you become free from desire. Nirvasana, that is the word Holy Mother uses. So, spiritual practice is necessary, but only the revelation of God doesn't depend on just how much japam you do and how long, how many hours you do meditation. That is a must to progress, and ultimate revelation will be by the grace of God. But grace of God has to come, will come only when we practice that. Both are needed. So that is very important in spiritual life. So the first thing that Sri-Ramakrishna, if you read Gospel of Sri-Ramakrishna, you will all find how this spirituality is kindled in human beings, how one tries to be spiritual. So first thing is association of the wise and holy persons. Those who are pure-minded, when we go to them, and they will always talk about the positivity, about purity, about their inner holiness. Even they talk or do not talk, association going near them, that kindles spirituality in our heart. Yes, there is a better way to live this human life, and this life can just have the wonderful fruition where we find a plant just going up and without anything, it just grows and dies. That is our regular human life, ordinary human life, unspiritual human life. And when it becomes spiritual, it starts giving nice flowers. Beautiful flowers come in that plant, and the flowers turn into nice fruits. The fruits are very sweet and juicy. Such type of fruits it will bear. That fruit will satisfy so many people. Flower will spread fragrance all around. That very plant which would have perhaps died without bearing any fruits and flowers, the spirituality makes it so beautiful and fulfilled its life. The life will be fulfilled when we have spiritual awareness in life. So, association with the holy is the one of the things. Now, holy person, who is holy and who is not holy, that's very difficult to understand. People see the marks with the religious symbol and religious garb, and whether they are really religious, spiritual, purified or not, how do we know? So that is one danger of really understanding how to have the holy company. So therefore, there is holy company. It may not be in the person, we may not be like the real associated with the holy, but there are definitely holy persons with whom we can associate. Who are they? Sri Ramakrishna you said live with. Jesus you can live with. You can live with Swami, Vivekananda and Holy Mother. How? Read their books. Read their life. Read the Gospel. If you read Gospel and read it nicely with full focus, you will hear Sri Ramakrishna talking to you. When he's talking to Yam, you are listening, Sri Ramakrishna is speaking. So that happens, that is called holy company, real holy. There is no any other doubt that Sri Ramakrishna speaks. Jesus speaks through Bible. Guru Nanak and all Gurus speak through our Granth Sahib. Like that it becomes holy. And the life, great life of Swami Vivekananda, if we read Holy Mother's life, so difficult, all difficult surroundings, situations, how hard, more troublesome than what we live in. But how peaceful, happy, spiritual, serving, loving, how life can be made in that way. We feel that we are in the presence of Holy Mother. We can see her working for the devotees. I can see how she reacts to the actions of the world that is thrown upon her. It's always forgiving, always loving. How sweet a life can be. And you associate with that holy company. That's one great thing, that if we can give some time daily in our life to read the lives and teachings of the saints. Conversation, you read beautiful, it becomes holy company. And that kindles the spirituality in us by two ways. When we are attracted to achieve that kind of life. Another, by reading thus, our heart starts getting purified. Our all baser desires, they start being removed. They start being thinned out. And we find there is greater, purer life than what I think the pleasures of the five senses. Those are not ultimate joyful things. We start having that idea just by having the holy company of all great prophets and saints. So that is a great power of holy company. Sri Ramakrishna always says. Another thing for spiritual development is detachment. Renunciation and detachment. Always not be attracted and attached to the world and worldly things. Worldly things whom we want to always grab and keep like that, they're always moving and going away. You can't always hold all, as Buddha said, whatever you hold dear are subject to separation, decay and death, destruction. So you can't keep anything with you forever. They're all changing. That we find from our world, our own lives, how the things change. So that makes us live in detachment. Live with the people. Enjoy their company. Enjoy your things, what you have, comfortable things. Don't go for much of luxury, but whatever you have, enjoy satisfying in those things. But always know these are all temporary. Aisa din nahi rahega. This too shall pass. That is the thing we all should remember. This too shall pass. So if we remember that, detachment naturally comes. You live with the things, you don't give up and throw and remove those things from your house, but you know everything is changing. The house you bought with all great love, after a few years you have to sell that house and go to a condominium because you become old. You cannot manage that house. So remember that when you buy the house, that it is for the time being. Like that everything, you raise your son and daughter, know that it's for the time being that they are with you. So enjoy their company as the gift of God, but know in your heart, they will not be with you forever. They have their own life when they grow up. They will move to their own place and accept that. That is called detachment. So give freedom to your what they want to do, how they want to lead life. The person whom you call your son is not your product, the product of God. He belongs to God. So give freedom for him to choose his own way of life. Like that is called detachment, not showing your power and grabbing and governing that. Don't govern anyone. Detached. That makes us very free from this worldly attachment, and then when we are freed from worldly bondage, then there is a chance we develop a new attachment, and that attachment will be towards our spiritual attachment, that attachment with God, more bringing God, which is more permanent, doesn't separate. God doesn't fall in Buddha's prescription. Everything that you hold dear is subject to change, separation and decay. That doesn't happen. God always remains with us, whether we are a boy or young man or old man, before death, after death, God will be always with us. Let us develop that attachment and detach from this temporary, ever-changing, flimsy things, and that way our life becomes spiritual. To have that attachment to God and love of God developed, we need to purify our mind. Mental purity is very important in us. So how to have mental purity? We all know. The best way to have mental purity, mental broadness, accepting everyone. So for that we need more inner depth in ourselves. And with that depth comes through our japam, repeating God's name. Since the God's name repeating, how it can make our life transform? But it does. So once one young disciple of Sri Ramakrishna said, "Sir, can you tell me how can I get rid of lust?" Sri Ramakrishna said, "Oh, repeat the name of God." So that young man, who later became a monk and direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, he doubted, how can just repeating Hari Hari or Rama Rama I can conquer my lust? But as Sri Ramakrishna had said, he started practicing that. And to his surprise said that yes, repeating God's name, one can conquer as great a foe as lust. As Sri Krishna says in the Gita, Kama esha, Krodha esha, Rajo guna samudbhava, Mahasano mahapapma, Vidhena iha vairinam. Know that lust and anger as the great enemy. So that enemy can be conquered by repeating God's name. Prayer is another thing that makes our heart purified. The mind is purified by prayer. Meditation on our Ishta, that is another way. Trying to behave well with the people, growing love for the people in our heart, not thinking that, oh, that person is bad, always seeing negative in other person and judging the person with other qualities, that impurifies, that makes our life impure, our mind impure. Let people be as they are. But why you have to bother? Why it should bother to you how the other person is? So accept other person as the other person is, as made by God or his sanskara, or all are we live here by the will of God. So these are the things. Now, that way when we get purity of mind, our mental strength increases. And we start saying that, yes, the path I have chosen is the right path. You become firm. You don't say that some person say, no, this is not there. That's why Sri Ramakrishna said, if you want to be spiritual, be firm and strong. Don't be afraid of what people say, what people's opinion is. Lajja, grina, bhoy, teen thakte noy. What is lajja? Lajja is shame. Don't be ashamed of that you are being spiritual. You pray quite often, quite more. And grina is hatred. Don't have hatred towards anyone or towards anything. Conquer hatred and fear. Don't be fearful of this changing life. Life will change, body will change, relationships will change. Don't be fearful. Always be assured of unchanging reality that is yourself. If you follow this, if you conquer shame, hatred and fear, then you can go towards God. And love of God can be developed. How to develop love of God? As Patanjali said, there are many ways. He follows few practices. He says ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, parigraha, some niyamas, something that you want to avoid. Himsa, you don't want to injure other person by any way, by not only physically, by not even verbally, not even mentally. You don't think ill of anyone. That comes ahimsa. So if you practice ahimsa, not thinking ill of anyone, not thinking negative about anyone, that becomes ahimsa. When you practice ahimsa, you become stronger. Ahimsa, satya, always follow the truth. Asteya, don't have any greed. Brahmacharya, all have self-control of all the senses. Brahmacharya, parigraha, don't depend on any, just others' gift, or don't depend on anything, depend on own self-effort. Like that, and the niyama is shaucha, santosha, tapasvadhyaya, isvara pranidhana. Lead a pure life, and contented life, and so santosha, tapa, and austerity. Austerity, in the Gita you must have read, there are 3 kinds of austerities. Follow that. Austerity doesn't mean that you give up all your comfort, basic comfort even. No luxurious, but you can use a basic comfort. But austerity really means self-control, non-injury, having nice speech, not disturbing others. Those all come under austerity. It's very beautifully given, described in Gita. So this Adhyaya and self-study, and also Ishvara Pranidhana, love of God, surrender to God. Surrender to God is very important. If we could surrender to God, then we attain, the change comes in us by surrendering to God. This self-surrender, let me read the one from Yatiswaranji, how he described about self-surrender. A glorious illustration of how a most sinful person can become righteous and attain the highest illumination and peace through the grace of the Supreme Spirit is seen in the life of Girish Chandra Ghosh, the famous actor, dramatist, and a great disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. According to his own statement, there was no sin that Girish did not commit. At one time, he considered religion a fraud. Later, however, a great change came over him, and there grew a deep yearning for spiritual light and peace. It was then that he was drawn to Sri Ramakrishna. Gradually, his mind became purified, though he had to go a long way. Once the following conversation took place. Girish to Sri Ramakrishna. Sir, please bless me. Master, have faith in the Divine Mother and you will attain everything. Just faith in the Divine Mother. She is with me. She is all that I live for. She is the one who always protects me. She is the one who is the goal of my life. Have faith in the Divine Mother and you will attain everything that you seek. It is. But I am a sinner. Master, the wretch who constantly harps on sin becomes a sinner. Girish. Sir, the very ground where I sit becomes unholy. Master, how can you say that? Suppose a light is brought into a room that had been dark 1,000 years. Does it illumine the room little by little or in a flash? Girish, I have no sincerity. Please grant it to me. Master, all right, you have faith. Girish had faith. One quality was there. His faith was on Sri Ramakrishna, that when I have got Sri Ramakrishna in this life, he will deliver me, he will transform me, he will change me, he will purify me. I will be to change my life from a sinful life to a very successful life, a holy life. I can become that by the mere power and presence and help of Sri Ramakrishna. That faith he had. Swami Vivekananda once said, if all we have faith like Girish goes, our life will be changed. writes Swami Yatishwarananda, the last time some of us saw Girish, he told us, as I move my hand, I feel that it is not I, but the Lord who is moving it. His eyes and face were radiant with the glow of his inner illumination and unbounded love for the Lord. This is one of the most sublime illustrations of transformation brought about by the divine grace, which flows into the spiritual seeker as he strives to his utmost. So, divine grace will flow into us. That is one thing. So, as we go on practicing spiritual disciplines, divine grace will flow. We don't have to bother about that. Just we have to have faith that divine grace will be there, help will be there. As Sri Ramakrishna said, if we proceed one step towards God, God will come 10 steps towards you. So that is the divine grace. God becomes closer to us, then we can go closer to Him. So that happens. Swami Yatishwarananda ji writes about the laws of spiritual life. He says, one of my questions was how to progress in spiritual life, he asked to his master. Answer, 5 things are essential for spiritual progress. A deep desire to lead a pure life. A deep desire to transform yourself, to lead a pure life, to remove all impurities in our thoughts and actions in life. Number 2, a pure and self-controlled life. Without control of the mind, there is no chance of progress. Number 3, without the grace of Sri Guru Maharaj, that is Sri Ramakrishna, none can progress in spiritual life. We must know that everything happens by His will and grace. One can progress in spiritual life only by surrendering oneself to God and by the daily practice of japa, meditation and scriptural reading. It is necessary to observe one's mind, whatever one may be doing. He also told me to connect my every thought, word and deed with the divine. Number 4, constant self-awareness. This can never be overemphasized. One must be constantly observing one's thoughts and actions. Most of our failures can be traced to leading an unconscious life. We are careless about our thoughts and words. We do not know why we do what we do. We are also unaware of how we spend our time. We are mostly controlled by our subconscious mind. If an aspirant does not cultivate this awareness, he may be doing such much japa, meditation, scriptural reading, and so on, but will not make spiritual progress. We often judge people by their external behavior, how long they do japa and meditation, and study scriptures, how they talk, and so on. However, these are just the external things. The intensity of their spiritual activity are the main important thing. Next number. We must have a role model, that is Sri Ramakrishna, Buddha, Swamiji, or any one of these. Role model will inspire us and it will be like our pole star. Next number. The more our consciousness expands, the more we see the divine in all people and the more spiritual we become. It is from the book Swami Yatishwarananda as we knew him. Here, one memoir says about the Swami Yatishwarananda. It was a Wednesday class. That evening, Swamiji spoke about the impurities of mind. Swamiji pointing to a devotee. How can one get rid of the impurities of the mind? Devotee. By regular practice of japa and meditation. Swamiji. Why do the impurities come? From where do they come? Devotee. It is in our nature. Swamiji rather sharply. What? Our nature? Gently. Our true self is pure by itself. One feels impure only when one identifies oneself with the body and mind. The soul is pure by its nature. Swamiji further continued, The mind takes up the color which is near to it. Suppose there is a prism and colored lights, red, yellow, etc., are kept on the sides of it. The prism takes on these colors and we cannot see its real color anymore. Similarly, our minds have taken up the nature of the colors that surround us, and it has forgotten its real color. But when these colors are taken away, the real color can be made. So here's how Swami Yatiswaranand inspires. Let me read the last reading from Yatiswaranand. There should be conscious attempts at outgrowing our present state. Then, as we advance, conflict would cease on this plane. But there would be conflict on a higher plane. When we come to give all phenomena a reality of the second or the third order, if the world of the phenomena appears to be unreal, then we remain unaffected by the phenomenal world, but not before that time. We may identify ourselves with the body. Then we are men and women and everything else follows as a matter of course. But suppose we come to identify the soul. Really, what essential in spiritual life is this: to bring about a change in our outlook, in our whole attitude to ourselves and others. Long ago, I read a very simple story. A widow had a son and she appointed a young man as his tutor. After some time, she fell in love with him, and he himself nearly succumbed to the temptation as he too had fallen in love with her. Then one day, her name and one of her letters reminded him of his mother's name, and this changed attitude towards her. The charm was broken, and he left the place without succumbing to the temptation. This is a very simple story after all. It just shows a world of difference our attitude toward ourselves and others may be. If we are able to think of ourselves and also of all others in terms of the spirit, our whole conduct would change. This may take years and years, but that does not matter. Go on striving and struggle. Then one day you will see the light, at least catch a glimpse of it. So, let us repeat the divine name and meditate on Him. Let the body and mind vibrate with the cosmic spiritual rhythm. Let the cosmic current sweep away all the ills of the body and the distractions of the mind. Let our meditation on the great illuminator, the Guru seated in our hearts, dispel all darkness and reveal to us His nature, and also our spiritual nature, which is eternal, ever pure, ever enlightened, ever free, and ever blissful. May Satchidananda bless us to develop our spiritual life. May Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, Swami Vivekananda, Buddha and Jesus bless us to make our hearts pure